Welcome to the online video which is called Managing Stress and Preventing Depression. So it's a series of various health and wellbeing online videos and books, and this one is the Managing Stress and Preventing Depression one. So the book is available from Amazon, iTunes and iBooks, and it's really a practical self-help guide to manage stress and prevent stress-related depression. Our modern lives are becoming increasingly stressful, and for many people this can lead to depression. So this book helps you to identify potential risk factors and shows how you can deal with these issues. It has been written for anyone wanting to help themselves or other people in a practical and informed way. So part one, quick personal introduction. I'm going to talk about what stress and depression is, different stages of stress, and then the symptoms of depression. So from a personal point of view, I've actually experienced sort of stress-related depression, and the book has been written based upon my own sort of experiences, and also over the last few years a lot of research that I've done, a lot of books I've read, and hundreds of people that I've met with various different issues, some of which are related to stress and depression. It's something that affects many different people in different ways, and there's lots of different factors, and it's really understanding about how that applies to you. You know, what are your, who you are, what are your factors, what are the triggers, and what can you do to prevent and manage and overcome any of these particular issues. So let's look at stress. In general terms, if you talk about stress, people, I get stressed, it's a common thing, and it's, in a way, it's almost accepted and almost quite amusing in a sense. Everything's so stressful. And if you asked any group of people have they ever been stressed, they're fairly likely to admit to it. However, if you ask the same people, are they depressed or have they ever suffered depression, then generally it's, I don't want to talk about that. There's a huge kind of difference between the two, and a big stigma with one and not so with the other. However, for many people, there's a real correlation between stress and depression, and we're going to focus on that, that correlation and the how stress can lead to depression. So, with stress, what is it? A state of mental or emotional strain or tension resulting from adverse or demanding circumstances. It's a stressful circumstance. It is one with which you cannot cope successfully, or believe you cannot cope, and which results in unwanted physical, mental or emotional reactions. So stress is a very personal thing. Everybody will have different levels of stress and how they can deal with that. So it's very much how one person reacts to everything else going on around them because of who they are. It's your reaction to the levels of pressure upon you. And if you look at it in stages, in the first stage you may find yourself feeling overworked, uncertain of your own abilities, but you're reluctant to take days off. In the second stage you may find yourself tired, irritated, frustrated, working longer hours but seemingly achieving less. You may be skipping meals or comfort eating. In the third stage you may feel resentful, guilty. You'll probably be neglecting your family and friends, and you'll no longer be enjoying work or life. Finally, you may withdraw completely, succumb to illness, possibly drug or alcohol abuse, feel like a failure, or completely break down emotionally and mentally. So stress, really is important, and it's really important to recognise the different stages, and even in the earlier stages to recognise that and then do something about it. How can you manage stress? How can you prevent stress leading to much more serious issues, including depression? So try to be really aware of your environment, your situation, and how you react to different things. So both on a work level and a personal level. What are those different factors? What are causing you stress? And then what you can do to manage that. And we'll come on to practical advice in a minute. When it comes to depression, let's look at the symptoms, because there's a huge range of behaviours, characteristics, thoughts, thinking, basically symptoms that none of which are wanted. So, being restless and agitated, waking up early, having difficulty sleeping or sleeping more, feeling tired, lacking energy, doing less and less, perhaps using more tobacco, alcohol or other drugs than usual, not eating properly, losing or putting on weight, crying a lot, sadness that doesn't go away, difficulty remembering things, physical aches and pains with no physical cause, feeling low-spirited for much of the time, every day, being unusually irritable or impatient, getting no pleasure out of life or what you would normally do, losing interest in your sex life, finding it hard to concentrate or make decisions, feeling anxious all the time, blaming yourself and feeling unnecessarily guilty about things, lacking self-confidence and self-esteem, being preoccupied with negative thoughts, feeling numb, empty and despairing, feelings of helplessness and hopelessness, distancing yourself from others and not asking for support, avoiding other people, sometimes even your close friends, taking a bleak, pessimistic view of the future, experiencing a sense of unreality, potentially self-harming and thinking about suicide. So lots and lots of different factors, symptoms, things to be aware of, none of which are pleasant, none of which you want to happen, but are very, very common. So when it comes to depression, generally speaking, in terms of a diagnosis, it will be a case of having several of these, perhaps 9 or 10 of these for a prolonged period of time, so more than sort of 2 or 3 weeks. Now, with life, you're going to get stuff that you don't like, that goes wrong, bad news, bad experiences, etc., and you're going to have a natural reaction to those. So most people will experience some of these, or quite a lot of these factors, but it might be more of a one-off thing, or just for a very short period of time as a reaction to something, and that's completely normal. What is less, or rather what isn't normal in that sense, is if you have a lot of these for a prolonged period of time, and then it's most likely it is depression. And with depression, there are different types of depression and different ranges, and this is more what would be deemed as mild to moderate depression. So although called mild to moderate doesn't sound that big a deal, of course it is a big deal. It is something that you don't want to have. It causes all sorts of issues and problems, not just for yourself but for people around you. So it's extremely important, yet I believe that it's certainly manageable, and if not, you can potentially prevent it happening, as well as treating the condition as well. So we're going to look at how you can hopefully prevent depression by particularly managing stress. Okay, part 2, we're going to look at trying to understand who you are, and it's really important to work out, understand who you are as a person, and then why different things have an impact on you, perhaps differently from other people. Then there's something called the curse of the strong, which we'll go into much more detail on. We'll look at the different factors that affect your thinking and behaviour, and how to deal with things in ways that will help you, and then look at the difference between productive and unproductive, positive and negative, and how it's so important to make sure that you're doing as many productive things as possible as opposed to unproductive. So in terms of who you are, it's worth taking time to understand you as a person and why you are that way. What are your values? What are your what are your goals? What are your expectations? Just how are you as a person? And the more you get to know who you are, the more it makes sense as to how you react to different people, different circumstances, different events, different situations, and particularly around stress and depression, the more you work out who you are and understand yourself, the easier it is to work out what's going to work best for you, in terms of what's going to work to help you overcome any conditions or prevent certain things happening, recognising certain triggers, and then putting in place different tools and techniques for you to manage the situation and live a much healthier, happier life. The Curse of the Strong then is a book written by Dr. Tim Cantifer, and it's one of the first books I read on the subject, and it's really, really sort of eye-opening in the sense that for a particular group of people, myself included, you're more vulnerable to getting this stress-related depression because of the type of person you are. And the common personality characteristics of people who are affected by this curse of the strong include high moral strength, reliability, diligence, strong conscience, strong sense of responsibility, but a tendency to focus on the needs of others before one's own, sensitivity, vulnerability to criticism, and self-esteem is dependent upon the evaluation of others. And a good way of summarising this is, if you give a set of stresses to someone who is weak, cynical or lazy, they'll quickly give up, so they'll never get stressed enough to become ill. A strong person, on the other hand, they'll react to these pressures by trying to overcome them. After all, they've overcome every challenge they've faced in the past through diligence and effort. So you've got a situation where, generally speaking, someone who is strong, is diligent, hard-working, often a leader, often someone people look up to, reliable, will do what they say they're going to do, will be determined, have that desire, all the sort of positive things and good characteristics that you'd want generally from someone. Actually, because of that, they are more vulnerable to kind of stress-related depression, because if things aren't achievable, if aren't possible, and there's only so far any one person can go, then there's always that danger of it being too much. And from a personal point of view, once I read this book, a lot of things started resonating and made sense in terms of my own experience a few years before at what had happened. So there may be many of you out there who this resonates with, and I'd certainly recommend reading the book, but just being aware that it's about you as a person, and then understanding that, and then why certain things affect you. And in this case, there's only so much stress and pressures and expectations and things that can happen. There's only so much you can do by working hard and making the effort and being diligent and everything else. So by understanding that, then you're able to recognise earlier the dangers, and then making sure you put in place the tools and techniques to prevent that happening. So other factors to consider. First of all, you've got to remember that there's no magic wand. If you're in a situation where you're depressed, or you've got depressive symptoms, for whatever reason, you have to understand there is no magic wand. Understand yourself. So as I said before, the more you understand yourself, the easier it will be to come up with the right tools and techniques to help manage the situation, treat, overcome and prevent. So really take that time to understand who you are. Your reaction. So it's a very individual thing, all of this. So it's what your reaction is to certain events and bits of news and other people and what goes on. So understanding what your reaction is and why, and then how you can perhaps modify that or change that in order for it to be a better outcome for yourself. Control. A lot of people who experience depression will talk about not feeling in control, not being who they are, not knowing what they can do, not understanding it, and really just almost having no control over anything and not seeing a way forward. So by having more understanding, more knowledge about the situation and what's happened, why it's happened and what you can do, you start to gain control. And once you have control, things automatically feel much, much better. So getting control by gaining that knowledge is really, really important. Then you've got the negative and positive thinking. It's really, really easy if you're in that depressive mindset of everything being negative and being really difficult to find anything positive going on at all, both in the present and in the future. So it's how you can change that in order to make sure that you reduce the negative thinking, because that will just keep manifesting more negative thoughts and going down and down and down into a sort of downward negative spiral, and making sure that you can find things to feel positive about and increase those and develop those and build upon those. Feeling sorry for yourself, that's fairly natural, very common, but actually it doesn't do you any good. So if you're spending a lot of your time, it's not fair, feeling sorry for yourself, moping around, yes, you can have some sympathy, but it ain't going to help. So you've got to try and stop that. You've got to try and take that out, take that away. The more time you can spend being productive and positive and doing things that are going to help, the better, rather than just sitting around or lying around feeling sorry for yourself. Also the blame game. People almost they need to have someone or something to blame, and sometimes there are people or events, situations that are to blame. Sometimes it's yourself, but often there is no one to blame, nothing to blame, and even if there is, it doesn't really do any good. It doesn't help the situation. You've always got to be thinking, what is going to improve the situation, what is actually going to help. So as before, feeling sorry for yourself won't help. Trying to look for someone or something to blame isn't going to help. Also, envy and jealousy. That is not going to help the situation at all. Jealousy, very, very negative emotion, very harmful, quite dangerous, and the best advice is whenever you feel yourself getting any kind of envy or jealous thoughts in your head or emotions, kick it to touch, get rid of it as quickly as possible. Try not to make too many assumptions and judgments. It's all too easy to come up with assumptions and judgments on people, on situations, on events, and the likelihood is you're not going to have the facts, you're not going to have all the information, your assumptions are going to be wrong, and it's not going to do you any good. So try to not make those assumptions, judgments. Just take some time, step back, and try to gather as much facts as possible. Everything is temporary, good and bad. Everything is temporary, and you have to remember that. So if you're in a bad place, if you're going through a really horrible time, you have to remember it's temporary. You don't know when things are going to change. It could be later that day, it could be tomorrow, next week, the next month, but everything is temporary. And the same goes for when things are going well and going good. Don't become complacent. Try and embrace it, enjoy that moment, that situation. But chances are, because it's life, you're going to get some bad news at some point. Everything is temporary. However, when you are going through a difficult, horrible period of time, there are things you can do to shorten that time and to give yourself more chance of that changing into something positive. Habit. Humans, definitely creatures of habit, or a lot of people are. And it's actually quite easy to get into a habit of being depressed or feeling down. It becomes normal, it becomes expected, it becomes kind of, that's how it is. And you just get into that cycle, that habitual cycle where it's negative, it's bad, this isn't going to happen, you don't do the things that are going to help, you don't do things that are going to make you smile, make you happier, be productive, etc. You just get into that habit, and actually most of the underlying reasons for depression or related issues are pretty minimal. It's just the fact that you've got into this situation where it's just become the same the same stuff becomes a habit. So be careful of not that happening to you. Accountability and responsibility. I believe it's really important to take responsibility and accountability for your health, for your life, for your well-being. You're the person that is always there. That you should be able to rely on, that you can make things happen, that you can understand the best, etc. So by taking responsibility and accountability, you're going to give yourself the best opportunity, put yourself in the best position to manage things, get over things, prevent negative things happening, and doing positive stuff. If you try and look for someone else or something else to always do something for you, or for that to happen as a result, then chances are it's not going to happen. And I think take more responsibility of your situation. Yes, look for advice, look for help, look for support, but you've got to take accountability. Don't be too critical of yourself. Particularly those people, we talked about the curse of the strong. People who set themselves high standards and expectations and pressures and burdens and everything else. They're often the people who are very, very critical of themselves, and that again isn't going to do yourself any good. It's not something that's productive. So have the high standards. Try and do the things you want to do, but recognise that by beating yourself up, being too critical, isn't going to be helpful for that situation. Give yourself a break, be nice to yourself, and chances are it's going to be better for you. Have patience. Things are going to take time. There's a difference between sitting back and doing nothing and trying to make things happen and being patient. Being patient is about recognising that there's only so much you can do. There's only so much that can be done in a certain amount of time, and basically for getting the right results, the good results, it will take time and it's worth waiting for. So having that, recognising that things take time, that patience is really important. Empathy, being able to empathise with other people's situations and other people themselves. Goes a long way to dealing with your own situations, because a lot of what you go through is a result of what other people are doing and saying and experiencing. So having empathy for everything and everyone around you will help that and help you understand and react better. Your past, realising who you are and why you are that person. And a lot of that is based upon your past experiences, good and bad, but it's looking at it from a point of view of understanding, why you do certain things, why you are that certain way. You've got guilt as well. A lot of people suffer with this kind of sense of guilt for different reasons and various different factors, but again, that is unlikely to benefit you or to be a positive, productive factor in all of this. So trying to have less guilt about certain situations. Do what's right, do what's going to help, but try and get away from the guilt. A lot of the things that people experience as a result of their past, where it's not their fault, i.e., whether it's to do with their parents, their family, their childhood, what other people have done, what other factors going on. A lot of the time, it is not their fault. But they feel it's their fault. They've got that kind of I'm to blame, and it must be down to me, and this is all my fault. Now, a lot of the time, it is nobody's fault, and a lot of the time, it certainly isn't your fault. So just be aware that depending on what the factors are, chances are it isn't your fault. What you've got to do is become responsible in terms of what you can do going forward, and make sure that you do the things that are going to help you. that will help if you've got the right people around you. So many people will have negative influences around them. People will put them down, who will cause grief, that will not have their best interests at heart, will be jealous, will be unsupportive, and you don't need those people in your life. And if you can remove them, great. And if you can focus on getting the people who are supportive, those that are encouraging, that have their best interests, who build you up as a person and can offer the right advice, the right support, that's really, really powerful and important. Recognising that not everything is possible. There's limits to what you can do. So in terms of goals, target, expectations, be realistic. Of course, it's important to push yourself and to try and be the best you can be, but at the end of the day, you have to remember not everything is possible. You're a human being, and you can't beat yourself up or get really stressed or upset or angry about not achieving things that are impossible. Trust and honesty, having people that you trust around you and having that honesty and loyalty and reliability is really, really key. But also, you have to be trustworthy, you have to be honest, you have to be honest with yourself, you have to be honest with other people, you have to gain the trust from others. So it's a two-way thing. Worrying, pretty much everyone worries about different things at different times, but a lot of people will spend so much of their time worrying, getting anxious, kind of fretting. That will affect their sleep, that will affect what they eat, that will affect their energy levels and how they behave. And most of the time, the stuff they're worrying about really isn't worth worrying about at all. It's trying to get that sense of perspective. But then also, even if something is important, what is worrying going to do? It isn't going to help the situation. You're better to spend that time focusing on productive things, stuff that can help the situation rather than just worrying. So really think about your levels of worry and what you can do to improve that. Fear of failure and fear of rejection, two big fears, very common, but we're all going to fail at stuff, we're all going to get rejected from stuff, and it's how you are able to deal with that and how you're able to overcome those setbacks and learn from it and actually turn it into a positive. There are so many examples of where failures are really key ingredients in future success. So don't be put off and don't be afraid of failure or rejection. Alcohol and drugs, particularly if you are in a bad place, if you are depressed, stressed, etc., there's a more of a temptation to resort to other things, particularly things like alcohol and drugs. And the bottom line is they're unlikely to be helpful. Certainly in the sort of longer term, they're going to be much more harmful, much more dangerous, much more worse for you than not. So be really careful not to go down the route of taking drugs, drinking more alcohol, etc. They are not the answer. You may feel at the time that that's what you need, that's what you want, that is an answer. They are not. You have to acknowledge that, and if you are going down that route, the sooner you seek help, the better. With food, it's a difficult one because some people will effectively stop eating and will lose a lot of weight, and that causes all sorts of issues health-wise. But also other people will comfort eat, will eat a lot more, will go for the unhealthier, high sugar content types of foods, and again that becomes unhealthy and it has a lot of effect. So both of those knock on in terms of confidence, sleep, energy levels, brain chemistry, physical health conditions, etc. Touched upon sleep there. Sleep is so important in terms of our overall health in so many different ways, and there's many people will have poor sleep, poor quality, not enough, and perhaps they don't value it as much as they should, because sleep is really important and there's so many different things that can be done to improve your sleep. Exercise is a fantastic way of preventing as well as managing and overcoming depression and reducing stress. It's clearly beneficial for your health overall. Physically, it's great, but also mentally and emotionally. It's accessible to anyone because there's so many different types of exercise and physical activity you can do. So, as we touched upon those three, food, sleep and exercise, are actually 3 other books and online videos in the series that focus on healthy eating, how to sleep better and the real benefits of exercise. So I'd obviously encourage you to take a look at those. Also, getting back to basics, we live in 21st century, all sorts of our modern life, the technology, the gadgets, the fast-paced, all the stuff that's going on, and sometimes it's really important just to get back to basics. It's unlikely to happen, but if you just went off onto a small island somewhere with literally no gadgets, no cars, TV, internet, etc., you had the basic foods and stuff, chances are you would be physically in much better shape. You'd feel much better physically, emotionally and mentally also you'd feel so much better. Just getting back to basics, cutting out all the stuff that is supposed to make our lives better, which very often causes a lot of these issues. Stop putting things off. Stop procrastinating. Stop sort of thinking, oh, should I do this, should I not, or avoiding stuff or delaying it. The more you do that, then you still got that burden hanging over you, and it gets bigger and bigger and weighs more and more. And stop putting things off. Stop avoiding stuff. Either get out there and do it, or just say, right, I'm not going to do this at all. Make some decisions. Don't be afraid to make decisions. Find a passion. If you get a passion, something you can enjoy, you can look forward to, you can get excited about, in whatever way, it's going to make a big difference to your life. It's productive, it's positive, and it will bring all sorts of positive elements to it. Count your blessings. Trying to get things into perspective. It's all too easy to get your sense of perspective distorted if you're feeling, if you're in a really bad place and feeling low. Look at the positives in your life. Think about the good things rather than just dwelling on all the negatives. Excuses and barriers. So a lot of people will come up with all sorts of excuses as to why they can't do something, why they're not able to do this, not able to do that, why this has happened, why that's happened. And that's what they are, excuses. They're not genuine reasons, and you've got to be honest with yourself, and very rarely are there real excuses that are that you can really look at as genuine reasons for the situation. And barriers that people put up, I can't do this because of that, or that's not possible because of this. And usually they're just barriers that you put up yourself. They're not genuine, real barriers that are actually preventing you from doing that thing. So just be honest with yourself. Think about it, and if you find yourself actually you put up those false barriers yourself, just take them down. If you come up with excuses, think you don't need these excuses. They're either real reasons or they're not. Reflection. Taking time to reflect on your life, your situation, the circumstances, your past, who you are. It's really important just to identify gaps, identify good things, identify stuff that can make a positive difference to your life. And then don't be afraid to seek professional help. Speak to your doctor. There could be counsellors, psychiatrists, other professional help out there that can make a real difference. Do research. Don't be ignorant. Have your eyes open to different possibilities. If something doesn't work first time, doesn't mean it can't work a second time or a third time. So look for the right sort of help, advice that that could be out there which could be beneficial for you. Part 3, we're going to look at the spiral of decline, and I'm going to explain what that is, and also then the CYM toolbox, and how important it is to keep practicing this. You know, be patient, but keep practicing and practicing and practicing, and gaining that control back. And once you've got the control, everything makes a lot more sense and becomes easier and more possible. So the spiral of decline. If you're in a bad place, if you're depressed, if you're really stressed, if you've got loads of things going on which, you know, you're really basically in a bad place, the chances are your thoughts and behaviours are going to be quite negative, and this will then manifest more negative thoughts. So let's take a situation where, you know, something happens, you're already in a bad place, something happens, and that creates a negative emotion, and then you're thinking in a negative way and something else happens, that becomes negative. And you start to go down this spiral of decline, down and down and down, more and more negative thoughts, behaviours, reactions, and it's very, very difficult to stop that spiral of decline. It starts to build momentum, you know, it gets worse and worse and worse, and anything at all goes into it becomes more and more negative. So what you really want to do is to stop that, prevent that spiral of decline. So if you recognise as early as possible that you're going downwards, then you've got a better chance of stopping that and bringing it back up. So the idea is to first of all recognise when you're going downwards, and then what can you do to pull that back up again, to stop it going down, because the further down you go, the harder it is to pull yourself back up. And the way I look at it, and what I would recommend, is having your own toolbox, and that is basically a huge range, a huge number of different tools, different techniques, different activities, just different things that you can take from that toolbox at any time, whatever's most convenient for that particular circumstance, that is going to help stop that spiral of decline and lift it back up again. So basically you can go through your life where you never go that far down because you've recognised you're going down and you immediately do something to pick it back up again. And you know, that might sound simple, but actually it is simple, because the more you practice that, the easier it becomes, and it becomes second nature. As soon as something starts to go downward, you do something that you know is going to work for you to manage it. So no matter who you are, no matter what situations, you are able to stop that spiral of decline and manage the situation. I'm 100% confident that if you create your own toolbox in the right way and then keep practicing at it, it is not necessarily easy, but it's very, very doable. So the toolbox then, if you can imagine, you know, a large empty toolbox, and you start putting in loads and loads of different things that you can do that is productive, that is positive, that's beneficial. And no matter where you are, no matter what the situation is, you can always go to that toolbox and pull something out that is going to help you at that particular time. It's going to help stop that spiral decline, and it's going to help pick yourself up. So, as an example of what you can put in your toolbox, we'll go through a few here. In the book there's around 50 different suggestions. Of course, some of them you won't think much of, some of them you'll think, yep, definitely they're going in, and there might be some that I haven't thought of, and you can create your own. But it's the more you've got, the more options you have. The more options, you know, you're never going to be in a situation where you say, there's nothing I can do. So, for example, music. You know, having some favourite songs, creating that energy, creating that uplifting feelings, something perhaps you can sing along to or dance to. But music, and songs, really effective, very simple. But there's nobody who can't have some kind of pick-me-up from a particular song that comes on. So music, an easy one to go in. Quotations, very simple but very effective. Having some of your favourite quotes to put things into perspective, to inspire you, to motivate you. Create some of your own. Look at the book, there's loads in there. Go on the internet and do a search and come up with quotations. Literally a few seconds can make a big effect, because it can stop that spiral decline and then you move on to more productive and positive things. Friends and family, having the right people around you that you can perhaps meet up with, chat on the phone to, even sending a text, just having people around you that are going to help the situation, that you can rely upon, speak to and get something positive back from. Exercise, whether it's a 5-minute walk or going to the gym or running for 10 miles or playing in a football match, whatever it might be, any kind of exercise, aerobic, weight, dancing, whatever it is, it's going to be beneficial. So you should never be in a situation where you can't do something, even if it's for a few minutes of exercise. It will get the heart racing, it will get you blood flowing, it will get those endorphins released, etc. Hobbies, coming up with a hobby or hobbies, something that you are interested in, something that you enjoy, that excites you. So many different things you can do. It might be hobbies you've already got, keep doing them. It might be hobbies you've done in the past, why not do them again? Or stuff you haven't even thought of, go and research, go and ask friends, go and think about what sort of things you could do and go and try it out. Comedy, laughter is the best medicine. Whether that's a comedy show on TV, whether it's a film, whether it's a video, a book, whether it's a funny clip on YouTube, all sorts of things you can do and find pretty much instantly that are going to make you laugh, they're going to make you smile, that's going to, that sense of humour will come out, and that's a really positive and productive thing. Meditation, for a lot of people, meditation is very beneficial and is really good at just, I guess, taking you out of all that stress and that negativity, and just taking you away from the negative stuff that's happening. And I think the more you practice, the more you do, generally the better you get at it in that sense. And if you're able just to take yourself away from all those issues, then that's going to be a real benefit. Setting some goals and targets, getting a pen and paper or computer and start saying, right, this is what I want to do, and this is when I want to do it by, and this is how I'm going to do it, and start planning and preparing for it. Because all of that is positive and productive. It's using your time in a way that is beneficial for you, and then looking in a positive way about why you want to achieve them and what you want to do and when that's going to happen and what the outcome will be. Reading, reading books, whether that's sort of fiction in terms of getting away from it all, fantasy world, or just taking your mind off all the other stuff that's going on, or whether it's learning in terms of facts and information and something that could be educational. Writing, getting stuff down on paper, whether that's to help clear your mind, very cathartic just to get stuff written down, whether that's writing lists and getting things prioritised, all of that very beneficial. Professional help, as I said before, seeking out help, perhaps go to the doctor and getting advice there, or different counsellors. There's lots of professional help out there, as well as information and knowledge on the websites and books like the ones available with CYM Health. You've got films and TV, so go and watch a film, whether it's at the cinema or on TV, TV shows, dramas, box sets, etc. Basically stuff that you're going to enjoy. It's going to take you out of all this negative thinking. Education and learning new skills, learning new things, understanding about your particular issues, understanding about the brain, all these different things are going to be beneficial. Walks, mentioned exercise before, but walks, just getting out in the fresh air, seeing nature, going to a park, going to a lake, getting some sunshine, vitamin D, all these benefits from just something so simple as going outside for a walk. Animals can play a huge role, whether it's your own pets or other friends, family members might have pets. Going to the zoo. Animals are, for a lot of people, a great way of lifting that mood and thinking in a positive way and taking your mind away from all your problems and issues. Photography, again, it's creative, it might get you outdoors, it might give you something to focus on. There's lots of benefits of something like that, and nowadays cameras are very cheap. There's lots of equipment and editing software you can use, and you can be really creative, and it's a fantastic sort of hobby. Something as simple as having a bath or shower. Just standing under a shower for 5 or 10 minutes can make a big difference. Having a bath, just relaxing, chilling out, just stuff like that. Going for a massage, pampering yourself, going for a spa day, anything like that, just to something that is productive and positive and takes you away from the doom and the gloom and the negativity and that spiral of decline. Going to galleries, museums, looking to help others, volunteering, helping out other charities. I put crying. Now, most of the time I wouldn't advocate crying because it generally means you're feeling sorry for yourself and life's not fair and all of that, which isn't going to help you. But sometimes having a cry will help, releasing that tension, releasing that negativity, and 9 times out of 10, once you've had a good cry, you're going to feel better for it afterwards, and you're going to become way more positive than you were when you first started crying. So that can be something you can add to your toolbox. Getting outdoors, you've already mentioned. Going on the internet, researching or watching cats playing the piano on YouTube. There's all sorts of stuff that is beneficial on the internet. Obviously be careful about there are negative aspects of the internet, but just be sensible and do what's going to be beneficial for you. Inspiring stories, loads and loads and loads of really good examples of people who've overcome adversity, who've succeeded against all the odds, who have done things that you will find motivating, inspiring, etc. So go and find stuff that for you is going to be something that takes you away from that negative thinking. A spring clean, it's productive, it's a good thing to do. Have a clear out, get rid of a load of rubbish, tidy, clean the house, flat or whatever. Just do something that is going to be productive and beneficial for you. Cooking, going out, get some fresh ingredients, cook a healthy meal, prepare and plan and enjoy, etc. Doing the gardening, again, it's productive, it's actually achieving something and it's good for you. There may be a case for medication. Speak to your doctor, do the research, whether that's antidepressants, whether that's anti-anxiety, whether it's sleeping pills, anything. There are options out there which can help in certain situations, but do the research and get the right advice. And then finally, it could be getting away from it, a change of scene, whether that's just for a day or a few days or a bit longer, but come up with ideas, suggestions, things you can do that are going to be productive, positive, and stop that spiral of decline and hopefully increase it as well. And the wider range of things you have in your toolbox, the better, because it means that at any point, no matter what the situation, you will always have something that you can pick out and will help in that particular situation. Part 4, we're going to look at how you can help other people, because it can be really demoralising and actually quite depressive in itself if someone you care about, a close friend, family member, a partner, who is going through a difficult time, is depressed or has similar issues, and you don't know how to help them. You don't understand it. You don't know what you can do, and quite often people get down themselves as a result, but also they may end up giving the wrong advice or stuff that isn't going to be helpful at all. Then we're going to summarise the main points again. I would say, first of all, don't make assumptions and judgments. So if someone starts to talk about their situation, just listen. Try to empathise as much as possible. Listen and understand. Don't make too many judgments and assumptions about their situation, because until you've got all the facts or information, you're not going to know, what the actual reality is. Ask them what support and help they actually have access to. What do they currently have? Have they spoken to their doctor? Are they seeing a counsellor? Have they got friends, close friends around them, or family members who they can talk to? Try to get them to focus on the positive and productive things as much as possible. Their actions and thoughts. The more productive and positive, the better. You've almost got this situation where someone in a bad place, most of their thoughts, behaviours, actions, emotions are unproductive and negative. If you can shift that around to get them to do things that are productive and positive, it's going to build momentum, and it's going to become a lot easier, and you'll start to see improvements and signs, and it's going to lead to that positive development. And it will take time, and it's a bit like an ocean liner turning in the sea, but if you can get them to keep focusing more and more and more on productive and positive things. Manage the spiral of decline, i.e. explain what it is to the person and try to help them build their own toolbox and go through it with them, but keep reminding them, keep recognising, getting them to recognise that there is this spiral of decline, and they have to go to their toolbox to manage that. And the more they do it, the more they practice, it's going to become easier. Try to get them to recognise, admit and accept the situation. Accept things aren't good, but get them to recognise the different factors, the issues, and then what they can do to move forward and look forward with hope. Try to get them to see a sense of perspective. It's very easy to think, out of perspective, to get things so focused on a certain negative situation or a certain thing. Just so try and get that sense of reality back. Get them to reflect on the situation, and they get that sense of perspective. The more they understand about the situation, the more knowledge they have, the more control they're going to have, which is going to make a huge difference. So try to help them in terms of research, reading, learning, understanding, etc. Keep them positive in the sense that there is light at the end of the tunnel. You've got to maintain that positive outlook. Things will turn around. I've seen so many examples where someone has gone, there is no hope, there's no way forward, it can't possibly ever anything good happen again, etc. It's such a dark place that it's really, really difficult. But I've also seen them 6 months' time, 12 months' time, 18 months' time, a completely different person, and they can't even remember how bad it was because they're in such a different place. So there is always light at the end of the tunnel. Don't let them stop doing the things that help them get better. So a lot of people will do the right things, do things that are productive and positive, and they will then benefit. They will feel better as a result. But once they feel better, once they feel good and things, I'm okay now, I feel fine, they stop doing those things that got them to that situation. And more than likely, or more than often, they then fall back down again. So let's not have that kind of cycle where it's bad up, etc. Try to get them to keep doing those things that have helped get them into that situation. that positive situation. So don't let them stop doing the things at work. Encourage them to talk, to get outside, to exercise and do productive things. So a lot of people become quite reclusive and quite isolated. It's really important for that not to happen. Get them being social, get them outside, get them talking, get them doing things as much as they can within the practicalities of their situation. But be careful not to get too involved or let it drag you down. Unfortunately, it's quite easy for someone to get dragged down themselves or to get too involved in a situation. So remember, there's only so much you can do. There's limits to what you can do. Sometimes some people, you just cannot do anything, or it's not the right time, or you're not the right person, etc. So just do what you can, but be careful not to get too involved. Okay, so just want to summarise the main points, which is understand yourself as much as possible. I think this is really key to your health and well-being in general, but particularly around stress and depression. Understanding who you are, what are those factors that are caused you these issues, and then what you can do to overcome and manage it and prevent this in the best way going forward. Recognise your own stress levels. Recognise that stress is something that's potentially very dangerous and can lead to much worse conditions. And recognise those levels, and then look to how you can best manage them and reduce them and be in control of that situation. Read, research and reflect. So try to understand not just yourself but all the other factors about the brain chemistry, about why certain triggers occur and what you can then do about that situation and what can help and what may not help. The more information, the more knowledge, the more understanding you have, the more control you have, the better place you are to deal with it. Recognise that spiral decline, the negative thinking, the negative emotions, that downward spiral, and build your toolbox. Make sure it's large with lots and lots of options in it, and you will always be able to have something that's going to help that situation. And the more you do, the more you practice, the easier it becomes. So practice it. Have patience. Things will take time. No quick fix, no magic wand. Have patience. Do the productive things and keep practicing. Practice, practice, practice. It becomes second nature, it becomes easier, and you can always manage any situation and deal with it. And don't stop doing the stuff that works. So going forward, obviously I would recommend you read the book in full, Managing Stress and Preventing Depression. There's also a lot of other books in the series all around health and well-being, stuff on sleep, on healthy eating, on motivation and challenges, on confidence, on exercise, and other videos that go alongside them. So read the other books, watch the other videos, get in touch, go to the websites, Facebook pages, etc. And there's always something that can be done. So your health, your happiness is so important. You can help yourself, and you can also help other people. And I look forward to you getting in touch and hopefully benefiting from all the other books and videos. Thank you.